We asked 70 grandparents what they'd do differently if they could live their lives again. Their answers weren't what we expected. There's a particular kind of silence that falls when you pose this question to someone in their 70s or 80s. It's not the uncomfortable silence of regret, though there's some of that. It's the weight of wisdom being carefully considered, of lives fully lived being turned over like river stones in weathered hands. These 70 grandparents, from retired school teachers in Maine to former ranchers in Montana, didn't speak of grand adventures not taken or fortunes not pursued. Instead, they spoke in quiet tones about the smaller moments, the human connections, the invisible choices that shaped everything after. "I wouldn't change the big decisions," said Eleanor, 84, her eyes fixed on something we couldn't see. "It's the 1,000 tiny moments I'd spend differently, the conversations I rushed through, the apologies I swallowed, the times I chose being right over being kind. What follows are the patterns we discovered, the threads of regret and revelation that wove through dozens of lives, each unique, yet somehow telling the same human story. Some of what they shared might surprise you. Much of it will comfort you. All of it is offered as a map for the path you're still walking. You've felt it too, haven't you? That quiet wondering in the small hours, the gentle calculus of what might have been had you known then what you know now. We all carry these questions, the ones that have no easy answers but shape how we move through our remaining days. Perhaps you've wondered if you worked too much, loved too cautiously, or forgave too slowly. Maybe you've questioned whether you truly savored the beauty of ordinary days when your children were small, or if you told the people who mattered most exactly how much they meant to you while you still had the chance. "I would have worried less about keeping the house perfect and more about making memories in it," said Margaret, 76, from her sunlit kitchen in Philadelphia. "I scrubbed floors while my children were asking me to play. I thought I was teaching them the value of a clean home. But what they learned was that they came second to spotless countertops." She paused, turning her wedding ring around her finger. "My daughter does the opposite with her children. She lets them make messes, builds forts with them. Every time I visit, I see she learned from my mistake, and that gives me peace." Thomas, a retired physician from Vancouver, leaned forward in his chair, voice low as if sharing a diagnosis. "I spent decades building a career that would make my father proud. He died before I made partner at the hospital." His hands trembled slightly as he continued. 2 years after his funeral, I realized I'd chosen medicine because he wanted it, not because I did. I was 57 when I finally took up woodworking, my true passion. Now I make rocking chairs and toy trains for my grandchildren. I wish I'd given myself permission to discover who I was much sooner. Maria and Robert, married 63 years, sat shoulder to shoulder on their porch in Arizona. "We almost divorced in our 30s, Maria confessed, while Robert nodded silently. "I found letters from an old flame of his. Instead of talking about it, I went cold. Punished him with silence for almost a year." Robert finally spoke. "And I was too proud to beg for forgiveness properly. We wasted precious time in that silence." Maria reached for his hand. "If we could do it again, we'd speak the hard truths quickly, forgive immediately. We'd understand that love isn't about being perfect. It's about being brave enough to rebuild after the breaks." Clarence, 92, a former steelworker from Pittsburgh, spoke with unexpected gentleness. I spent my life thinking strength meant not showing weakness. I never cried in front of my sons, not even when their mother died. He looked down at hands that had once bent metal to his will. My greatest regret is that I taught my boys that emotion was something to hide. My youngest just retired, and he still can't tell his own son that he loves him without clearing his throat first. That's my legacy, and it breaks my heart. Across these conversations, certain truths emerged like stars appearing at dusk. Quiet at first, then impossible to ignore. Nearly every grandparent spoke of time, not as an abstract concept, but as the most precious currency they had spent too freely on things that provided no return. They didn't wish for more time in the abstract. They wished they had recognized the value of ordinary moments while living them. Wednesday afternoons with young children, Sunday dinners with parents who are now gone, the last good day with someone they loved before illness changed everything. Another truth surfaced about the courage to live authentically. So many had spent decades performing the lives they thought they should want, rather than pursuing what truly brought them joy. They spoke of retirement as a second chance, a time when they finally gave themselves permission to paint, to write, to garden, to simply be the person they had always been beneath the roles they played. Perhaps most poignantly, they spoke of relationships, not the perfect, airbrushed connections of greeting cards, but the messy, complicated bonds that require maintenance, forgiveness, and the humility to say, "I was wrong," even decades after a hurt has calcified into memory. Ellen, 88, shared the wisdom that silenced the room. The older I get, the more I realize that the most tragic thing isn't making mistakes. It's the energy we waste on regret instead of repair. I spent 15 years not speaking to my sister over something I can't even remember now. She died before we reconciled. What I would do differently isn't about that original argument. It's that I would understand sooner that being right is lonely comfort in an empty room. Perhaps what these 70 grandparents offer isn't really about regret at all. Their stories suggest something more nuanced, that a well-lived life isn't one without mistakes, but one where mistakes become compost for wisdom. What looks like regret from one angle might actually be recognition, the deep understanding that our humanity lies not in our perfection, but in how we handle our imperfections and what we learn from them. As you move through your own life, whether you're 20 or 70, remember that you are writing the story you will one day look back upon. The beautiful thing about being alive right now is that today still belongs to you. This moment is still yours to shape. Let these grandparents' reflections be not just lessons from the past, but invitations to your future. To worry less about appearances and more about presence. To say the loving words out loud, often. To repair what's broken before it's too late. To give yourself permission to change course when the path no longer serves your soul. After all, wisdom isn't about avoiding regret entirely. It's about living in such a way that whatever regrets we do carry are lighter than the joy we've created along the way. If you found comfort in these reflections, you might also appreciate our upcoming video. The Last Letter. What 50 people wish they'd said before it was too late. A gentle exploration of the words that heal even when spoken posthumously, and why it's never too late to say what matters most.